this takes. You feel the touch tonight, the rhythms in your shot, and your step is light. The crowd goes wild. This much is known. Win another game, you be almost home. You do that in one shining moment. You reach for the sky. One shining moment you knew.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jim Nance, and welcome to our CBS Sports continuing coverage of the 1989 NCAA Championship Tournament. And tonight we conclude the regional semifinals, and in just a couple of moments we'll be sending you across the Hudson over to the Meadowlands, where surprising Minnesota of the Big Ten challenges Duke, the second seed in the East. Later on, we'll be sending you to Minneapolis to catch the live finish of the Midwest Regional Semifinal between top seed Illinois and Louisville. And then at 10 Eastern Time, everyone will watch John Thompson's Georgetown Hoyas battle Jim Valvano's North Carolina State Wolfpack in our doubleheader game. That should finish in time for us to catch the live conclusion of Missouri and Syracuse, the other Midwest semifinal. So sit back and enjoy our regional semifinal doubleheader. A dozen teams are still alive as the road to the Final Four continues, live from the Meadowlands here on CBS.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship.
Spanning the Hudson River, the George Washington Bridge, and tonight a lot of basketball fans have traveled across from Manhattan to East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the Meadowlands Arena, where they will see an East Regional semifinal doubleheader tonight. Now, the winner of this region, a week from tomorrow, will meet the champion of the West, either UNLV or Seton Hall. And tonight, in our first game, we are going to feature a legitimate Cinderella, if they can advance. The 11th seed of the East, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, against the number 2 seed, the Blue Devils of Duke. Welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. A pleasure to be with you tonight. 3 Big Ten teams still standing, 3 from the ACC, 3 from the Big East. And through this decade, this arena has been very kind to Duke. Twice they have vaulted all the way to the Final Four out of the Meadowlands. But folks, tonight, they are scared to death. Like you and me, they watched television last night, and they know what's been happening to the favorites. 4 of them knocked out last night. The numbers 1 and 2 seeds in the Southeast and the West, both gone. So, Billy Packer, tonight it'll be the Golden Gophers trying to stage another upset here. And what about their fine coach, Clem Haskins?
Well, Brent, Clem Haskins is one of those coaches that knows how to take a program, have patience, and build with it. As we know, he did the job at Western Kentucky. He's also done the job with the Gophers. They were buried underground, 9 and 19, 10 and 18, and all of a sudden he has them here in the Eastern Regional, a 19-11 season in the very tough Big Ten.
Billy, I guess when we ask who are these masked men, we really mean it with regards to Minnesota. Their star, Willie Burton, playing with a broken nose.
Willie Burton, of course, has that broken nose. He is playing with the protection on there. He's been very explosive, averaging 24 points a game so far in the Eastern Regional. A great shooter from inside as well as out.
Their guards will be under pressure tonight. What about their backcourt?
Well, Milton Milburn, one of the best things about him is that he can go inside and out. He leads the Big Ten in steal. Very aggressive player. He's going to give Quinn Snyder all he can handle, I'm sure.
The injury question regards Richard Coffey, their outstanding rebounder. Will he play tonight?
Well, Coffey is an ex-paratrooper. He had 47 jumps. He's a man, 24 years of age. Led the Big Ten in rebounding a season ago. He certainly has given his best effort. And Brent, he's one of those fellas that Clem said is already a man. He knows he can play 15 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at a time.
Now, they have won 2 games in the tournament already, but before that, they did stage some quality wins, especially at home against Big Ten competition. They knocked off Iowa. They beat Illinois. They downed Ohio State the last time on the road, and they beat Michigan, which heads into a regional final tomorrow against Virginia. Now, on the other hand, Billy, Duke has some great senior leadership.
Well, every coach in the NCAA tournament would love to be blessed with seniors that have been here before. In the case of Duke, you can see them. Quinn Snyder, Danny Ferry, and John Smith. All three having an opportunity to go to their third Final Four if they could come out of this particular tournament.
Billy, let's meet the starting lineups. Let's go to the PA announcer, Don Malagio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey, for tonight's East Regional semifinal game between the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Duke Blue Devils. And now let's meet the starting lineups. For Minnesota, at forward, a 6'5" senior from Chicago, Illinois, number 40, Walter Bond. For Duke, at forward, a 6'5" junior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, number 21, Robert Rickey. For Minnesota, at forward, a 6'7" junior from Detroit, Michigan, number 34, Willie Burton. For Duke, at forward, a 6'10" senior from Bowie, Maryland, number 35, Danny Ferry. At center, a 6'9" junior from Rockton, Illinois, number 45, Jim Chickenjansky. For Duke, at center, a 6'10" freshman from Angola, New York, number 32, Christian Leitner. For Minnesota, at guard, a 6'6" sophomore from Bloomington, Minnesota, number 3, Kevin Lynch. For Duke, at guard, a 6'4" junior from University Park, Illinois, number 3, Phil Henderson. For Minnesota, at guard, a 6'4" junior from Toledo, Ohio, number 20, Kevin Newburn. For Mercer Island, Washington, number 14, Quinn Snyder. Introducing the head coaches for Minnesota in his third season, Clem Haskins. For Duke in his ninth season, Mike Krzyzewski.
Minnesota Golden Gophers have never advanced past the regional semifinal in the NCAA tournament. The Meadowlands and the East Regional semifinal. 2 more, and you get to go all the way to Seattle and the Final Four. The Duke Blue Devils traveled this road to get here, beating South Carolina State and West Virginia 70-63. Clem Haskins wants this game kept in the 70s. He doesn't think he can win at an 80 or 90-point pace. He wants to hit better than 54% here tonight. That's asking a lot against this Duke defense. The Gophers go to control the tap, and it is hammered out of bounds.
No way for Melvin Newburn to get back that time, Brent. The ball was hit so strongly by Burton. Shows the great leaping ability he has on that center jump.
The reason why Haskins wants that score, Duke is 24-0 when they have scored at least 80 points. First shot off the mark. Duke retrieves it, and they'll set it up again.
Straight man-to-man by Minnesota, and they're going to go ahead and change their defenses throughout the course of this game. Tough matchup there.
Here's Ferry. For those of you, as far as the uniforms are concerned, everybody remember that the higher seed wears the home white. Duke's at 2, Minnesota's 11. That's the easiest way to keep uniforms in mind in the tournament. Now it's Burton out high.
Well, they're switching out there, Christian Leitner and Danny Ferry. Great block.
The freshman getting a hand on it, but the Gophers come back. Lynch on the drive, missed it, and Bond digs it out. The working man's team, a held ball, possession arrow, Minnesota.
2 great defensive plays, this time by Leitner on the inside. He didn't go for the pump fake. At 6'10", the freshman did a good job defensively and then blocked one right after that against Bond. Now, here's what happened. On the center tap, the arrow had to be pointed to the team that did not get the center tap. Duke didn't get the center tap. I mean, Minnesota capped it, but it went out of bounds. It was Duke ball, so therefore the arrow should be pointed to Minnesota. The referees are right.
And the arrow is correct over there, the other side. Chickenjansky has trouble with the handle. Loses it out of bounds. Welcome to all those fans in the Metrodome. Kind of a doubleheader for you tonight, huh? Getting ready up there for that big one. Illinois and Louisville first, and I can just see all those walkmen in there in that arena, Billy. Checking out how the Gophers are going to do here tonight. A great basketball story in the upper Midwest. Great for the fans and the university to come back under Clem Haskins. This is his third season. He's done a terrific job. Cross for Quinn Snyder of Duke.
Try to go cross court and then dump into Danny Ferry, who really has an advantage on Bond size-wise. There it is again. That time he pushed off a little bit too aggressive. If Ferry will hold his ground, I don't see any way in the man-to-man that Bond can handle him down low. One of the things that Duke does so well with Danny Ferry, they'll employ him down low mostly. If he's guarded by a smaller man, they move him outside when the big man takes him. Nice screen.
On the turnover, here's Snyder for the layup.
You know, Brent, the other day when people watched Snyder in the warm-ups dunk, they were surprised, and I said, hey, the kid is some kind of athlete. He's got great leaping ability.
This would be an important opening few minutes for a young tournament untested team like Minnesota. There's a big basket for him, and it was Lynch who went in and dug it out. On that scoreboard.
Clem Haskins, a fellow that when he played liked to go down in the low post some, although he was a great outside shooter. He employs his guards that way here.
Ferry double team and fouled, and that's number 1 on Lynch. That's the first team foul against Minnesota, and of course we had one just a few moments ago against the Blue Devils of Duke. Glad you could join us here tonight. Miserable weather conditions in the New York area today. This is the kind of weather that drives folks down to the Carolinas and Florida. I mean, it's horrible out here.
Ferry moving outside with Burton on him.
The 3.
Critical shot for Duke. When Quinn Snyder shoots, that extends the defense. Snyder picking up very early now.
A 7-2 burst here by the favored Blue Devils. Shikanjansky comes out high to get the ball. And here is Rutherford who will set the table again.
Nice hedge by Leitner that time.
They need Burton in there, and they got it. Right at the free throw line. He nailed his first field goal.
29 against Kansas State in the opening game of the tournament.
Oh, Brecky strong to the hoop.
Robert Bricky moved back into the starting lineup in the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament. Shows you what a great passer Ferry is. Hit Bricky. He's one of the best leapers in America. Explosive and strong inside.
Minnesota will use Ray Gaffney. Now, he's a bit of a three-point specialist. He's the senior out of Dayton, Ohio. Haskins over there begins to work on that sideline, chatting with Walter Bond about where he wants him positioned.
Brent, this makes Minnesota really small now on the defensive end of the court. They have to play a little zone on this team.
Shikanjansky, good defense by Duke. And the Blue Devils come down on the move again. They're 4 of 5. Make it 5 of 6. As Bricky coming through, and it's going to be an early timeout for Haskins. Big 3 dominating this tournament right now. ACC, Big 10, and Big East. The Big 8 won it last year with Kansas. Only Missouri there. UNLV is the Big West representative, and for the Metro, it is Louisville.
Brent, 5 of those 6, less the Big West in there. If you add the SEC, have dominated the NCAA tournament of late. SEC, of course, this year, 5 in, 5 out in the first day.
Out of bounds on the turnover. It'll go to Duke, so they didn't get anything after the timeout.
It was a nice set play, though, with Lynch breaking down behind Burton. It's a set play that Clem Haskins likes to use, and he can use it because his guards are so big. Let's see, they do go to the zone defense, 1-3-1. I felt with the club they had out there, they'd be too small to play Duke man-to-man.
During the season, Duke blazed away at better than 54% and held their opposition to only 42% over the course of the entire season. Perry missing and Bricky with an offensive board.
And in the 1-3-1, a real weakness is going to be that weak side defense with Bricky coming back in there without being blocked out. It'll be tough to keep off the boards.
Duke builds an early 10-point lead here in the Meadowlands. And Byrne on the turnaround. Tapped in by the Gophers underneath. And that was number 3 Lynch, his second field goal. He leads the way.
Lynch, an excellent athlete as well. A good leaper outside. He kind of mirrors Quinn Snyder. Played a little split end in football. Ricky again just misjudged that one.
Gophers trying to back up field goals here and start at least a mini run. And there's a foul against Bricky, who was reaching in on the guard. Byrne coming down the floor.
Brent, I think that's an interesting call early on in the ball game for a coach. Are they going to call hand checking? I think it's something you have to plan on early. If you're going to get away with the hand checking, maybe play a little bit more up-tempo basketball. There you saw a very quick whistle.
Bond has returned, and again they get the ball into Lynch's hands, and this time he drew the shooting foul, and he'll move on up to the free throw line to shoot.
Lynch is listed at 6'5", plays bigger than that, and he's really given Duke trouble inside.
Ala Abdel-Nabi checks into the lineup, and John Smith also for Coach Mike Krzyzewski.
Duke really doesn't fall off in any respect when they go to that bench because they bring in additional size and experience.
Exactly. You know, Billy, so much is made about McDonald's All-Americans through the years. Well, of the 16 teams starting last night, Duke had more than any team. They had 7. Not one player on the Minnesota Golden Gophers was a McDonald's All-American, and usually that's an indication of star talent at the high school level.
Yeah, there have been some fellows that didn't make the team that turned out to be pretty good, but it's a nice thing to know that you've got that security blanket because they are prime candidates coming out of high school. They may not develop to that degree, but pretty good candidates.
Offensive foul against Byrne. It goes over to Duke. That is 3 team fouls on the Gophers and 3 against the Blue Devils. 15-41, 14-7. Duke in white leading Minnesota.
Full court zone pressure now by Minnesota. Let's see if they stay in the zone with a 1-3-1 trap. Chicken Janksy all the way underneath.
Lob pass too deep. But a break for the Blue Devils. Smith digs it out.
You know what you have a tendency to do here, Brent? You get off to a good start as Duke is right now, and you try to bury the team. It might not be a good idea. They need to keep playing solid. That's solid.
Henderson's his first field goal.
Yeah, that's the way to attack the zone. Minnesota's small out here right now, but this club, as you pointed out at the top of the show, has beaten a lot of quality teams. They're not going to be in awe of Duke.
Minnesota having some difficulty with the ball out high. And he travels. No basket. That's 5 turnovers.
That play at half court is one of those that's not called often, but that was back court. They actually didn't lose team possession there, even though the ball had been slapped. They stay in the zone. 1-2-2 now. Clem going to his 3rd defense. Kick reset to 45.
Haskins' defense during the regular season allowed 70.6 points per game. He features defense, rebounding, and free throw shooting. That's really how the Gophers battled their way into this position.
You know, Brent, what's interesting about that, they did a good job in the turnover ratio, but they gave up 48% shooting, which means that you could get shots against them.
That's one of their rebounds, Lynch.
I like Lynch.
He sure has been an athlete here in the early going.
Really gets up on the boards.
That's a 3 by Byrne. He has range, but not this time. Abdel-Nabi rebounding. Devils come down leading 16-7 in the early going here. Perry. And Perry with his 2nd field goal in the first half. Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Time remaining in the first half. The Blue Devils have led it all the way.
Clem Haskins realizing early on he can't go with those 3 guards. I'll be anxious to see when he tries Richard Coffey in there.
Loose, here they come again. Henderson in a one-on-one game. Who gets inside with that quickness? And Lynch fouled him.
Going to see Henderson with a great quick crossover dribble here. Explodes right by Lynch. Didn't have the angle to put that ball up with the right hand, but still showed that he is extremely quick. Johnny Dawkins, he is not, but a fine backcourt player he is.
Returning. You mentioned Coffey. He's up on the far side, Billy, and he is going to see his first action. And the Minnesota fans will give him a nice round of applause. He blew that knee out against Ohio State. And Coffey returning. That's the paratrooper you spoke about. He is also the spiritual leader of this Gopher team, and boy, they need a lift right now. Maybe he can give it to them.
As I said, not this season, but last season, he led the Big Ten in rebounding. When you look at his size, he's probably, they list him 6'6". That's about what he is. He was picked as co-captain of the team as a sophomore. Ought to show you what confidence they have in his leadership.
So now it will be the Blue Devils with Greg Kubek checking into the lineup for the first time. And Henderson sits down. Coach Krzyzewski's depth in evidence here in the first 7 minutes of the opening half. The Blue Devils are on a 10-3 run over the last 4 minutes.
And now Mike Krzyzewski matches up Minnesota. He's got Kubek playing New Bern, so he's got good size right there, matching up very nicely. Snyder really the only true guard on the floor for Duke.
Foul is against number 33, and that is Smith.
Minnesota foul.
They called it on
Going against Coffey.
He set the screen down inside. Again, a much of a touch foul right there early on. Referees are calling it very tight. Solid screen coming up.
Abdelnaby lost it, Minnesota, but it's a held ball, and it will remain in Duke's possession. The possession arrow in their favor now.
Duke really trying to force that ball down inside. That was a pretty good catch by Abdelnaby. Ball was thrown like a bullet right at his ankle.
Haskins going to work over there on that far sideline. The coat has come off. Pounded inside to Smith. The turnaround, and the Gophers dig out a rebound with number 33, Coffey.
Great block from Snyder. He got up off that floor. They've got to get Burton some solid screens out here. He was very explosive in the first 2 games.
Spin by Newbern in the lane. His first field goal.
Tough man to match up. Extremely quick. Very powerful young guy.
Duke has done this without Ferry dominating. Now he's going to go to work.
Again, Bond caught on his hip. Too small for him.
22-9 in the early going of the East Regional semifinal. The winner here will take on the winner of our second game, North Carolina State and Georgetown. And Burton comes back with his second field goal this game.
Clem held Burton out of 9 games this year just to get his attitude straightened out, both academically and what he wanted to put into the game. But he's come back extremely well.
Duke's ball, and again, Ricky returning, Leitner returning. Abdelnaby and Ferry sit down for Coach K. Did you hear that joke they're telling down in your parts about the Dean Dome and Duke's success for 4 straight years in there? If Duke wins there next year, they're going to rename it the Kmart. Carolina fans will march on my house.
Yeah, they will be. You're like, well, you're not too far away in Savannah. You know, there's some Tar Heels down there.
Send your cards and letters to Billy Packard.
I hadn't even heard the joke. So you can't accuse me of anything.
That is a 6-team foul against Minnesota. Things not going their way at all. And it is going to be, I think we can say, very tough for a young, untested team. And there are not many smiling faces wearing the Burton headgear and the nose guards there. A lot of people from the Twin Cities traveled in here today.
You know, about that headgear, I understand that Burton is, you know, he's worked with clay, so actually he's modeled that headgear so that it does give him better visibility. Use the trainer's scalpel. And we'll have to have the nose operated on when this season is over. As will Coffey potentially with that knee. Showing a lot of courage being out there tonight.
So the wounded Gophers come back and set up offensively, trying to get something going against this very talented Duke team. Duke, because of Krzyzewski's background, They thrive on their defense. He learned that the right arm of Bobby Knight when he played for him at West Point. The three is not there. Leitner, a freshman with tremendous talent, yanked away the rebound. Burton lost his face mask. Now he'll come back down. His man is open. He punched the pass, and the foul is against Minnesota.
Burton went down on the other end, Brendan. That's why it was a 5-on-4 situation. He lost his mask and had to readjust it.
Yeah, with Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger. Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This is game one of our doubleheader, and so far it has been all Duke, 23-11. Danny Ferry with 6 points, but it has been Robert Brickey who has paced the Blue Devils with 7 here in the first half. For the Golden Gophers, 2 of their starters did not even score. Shikanjansky and Vaughn, they have both been on the bench for a while. Lynch with 5 is leading the way.
Now, Brickey's been an outstanding player in the NCAA tournament. There's some fellows that just seem to hype up when, in his particular case, he's played well in ACC tournaments and has played well, obviously, in the NCAA tournament. Doesn't make much difference whether he's a starter or a sub. He seems to enjoy coming off that bench and giving that explosive scoring punch they need. Clem posting those guards down low.
Great defense. Ball handling problems continue for Minnesota. That's 8 turnovers here in the first half. It's 24-11.
Brickey's wanting to take that ball to the hoop even before he catches it. Man-to-man by Minnesota. In any case, they've got the matchup problem with Ferry inside.
Henderson with a great pass to Leitner. Missed on the shot.
As Leitner remembers this, Jim, well, he missed that foul shot in the case of the Arizona game, but was 6 for 6 from the field that day.
Lewis maneuvering. From behind, it's knocked out of bounds on another slick defensive play by Snyder.
Clem not getting what he wants out of his offense. Now, you'd like Lewis to penetrate, but if he's got to go down inside there against those trees, he's never going to get the shot off.
As Lynch returns.
Lynch would be in much better shape to get the shot off on the baseline. 5 seconds close.
Here's Shikanjansky to the first hoop, and there he's got it to the left baseline. This is the second confrontation between the Big Ten and the ACC. Last night, Michigan knocked out North Carolina in the Southeast. But now it is the Blue Devils keeping the table. Brickey coming in and shooting virtually a layup.
But you can see it in his eyes. I mentioned before, he is ready to move even before he catches the ball. You know, talking about that Michigan game last night, I don't think I've ever seen a Michigan team come to play like that one. They would not be denied, and particularly when that game went down the wire last night. They get 2 points even, and they just were not to be denied. And Glenn Rice, of course, put on one of the great offensive shows I've seen from outside.
I believe 8 of 12 from three-point land. Burton, who checked back in, was fouled. He was hooked by Brickey, and that's Brickey's second personal foul here in the first half. And with Coach Krzyzewski up by 13, what do you think, Billy? Will he take him out with 2 personals or stick with him?
It makes no much difference in regard to that deep bench he has. He's got that liberty.
We'll take a break and come right back. Well, Duke blazing away at 67%. They are on a 100-point game pace. And if they can keep it up against Minnesota, they would move along to the East Regional Final and take on the winner of the Georgetown, North Carolina State game. These 2 brackets are together. Keep in mind, it'll be the East and the West. The winners will meet in one national semifinal a week from tomorrow out in Seattle. How about UNLV and Seton Hall, Coach?
Well, not what everybody anticipated, but both teams, I thought, played extremely well. And Seton Hall showing some good defense against Bobby Knight's club. They're extremely patient.
On the miss by Shikanjansky, rebounded by Duke. They come down up 13. 9.5 minutes to go here in the first half. They wanted Leitner. Lynch with good defense, forced the turnover. Open man, but only momentarily down here is Newbern.
Nice catch.
Short on the shot, and Duke's ball not getting those big, important offensive rebounds that they're going to need to climb back in this.
They've gone to the 1-3-1 zone now, Brent. Lynch doing a good job running that baseline. He's a perfect guy to run a baseline in this zone because he's big enough to play under there even if he has to rebound or go to the corners. With this kind of lead, Duke just has to be patient, find the openings. And when this club gets Henderson or Snyder hitting from the perimeter, it really makes them tough, because Ferry then can be the release man and go down inside.
Duke's biggest lead of the night, 29-13. Shikanjansky, his spot. He's down there.
He loves that little shot on the baseline. Nice soft touch.
Snyder whips it over to Ferry off a fake. Not it inside, forced the pass, but a good strike for the Blue Devils, and Ferry hustles in for an offensive rebound.
He'll take the jumper. Good job by Burton to recognize. They're really spreading out high. Now, if Newburn's going to come up this high, playing the top of this zone, there's going to be openings in behind him. That's why Duke's rebounding so well offensively.
We get word from the Twin Cities that Kenny Battle will not start in that upcoming game for Illinois because of the knee injury he suffered during practice yesterday. He slipped on a wet spot, strained ligaments. He may be able to play, but that's more serious than they thought he'd be starting. So Minnesota works it well for Bond, his first field goal of the game.
Bricky looking for help on the inside instead of playing head-up man-to-man. Here's the 1-3-1 zone we talked about. Ferry's going to have a hard time getting a shot off against Burton on this side. He needs to move inside it. There he is.
You see? Minnesota rebounding. Shikanjansky from the other side of the baseline. Leitner off with the rebound, and here's Snyder.
Leitner has great hands for a big man.
Snyder gets right by Newbern. Now he's the open man for the three. That's, though, his liability. He has not shot consistently from three-point land this year. Newbern bringing it down for Minnesota. They trail it 31-17.
But I think at this point, Duke being a little bit impatient on the offensive end of the court, they can just control the boards. They're so much bigger at almost all positions. They just have to be more patient on offense.
Well, you'd have a tendency to be impatient if you led 31-17, too.
I understand, but this is when you're in the tournament. You can't allow a team to come back on you, and what Minnesota will be able to do, and we know their experience beating some good clubs. They'll gain confidence. You know, when Duke brings the ball back out and handles it patiently against that zone, they get about anything they want.
Bricky, here in the first half, has exploded for 14 of those 33 points.
Duke goes into a 2-3 zone. Danny Ferry down inside. Burton will probably like this. He's looking for his jump shot. Wasn't able to get much against the man-to-man.
John Collier, you make that quite clear, didn't he?
Close calls by the official on both sides.
And that's number 3 on Bricky.
He was coming out anyway. There's a case where Bricky made the point just a few minutes ago. Should he take him out with 2? Mike Krzyzewski planned on taking him out. He had 3 to come in there, but Bricky picks up his 3rd.
Martin, the 7-foot freshman center, on the floor for Minnesota, trying to give them some height. He's raw. He has potential, and this will be a tough test for him. Burton bites down that baseline and battles for that tough field goal. 6 in the first half, 33-19. And when you watch Martin down here, you'll see whether he can hold off the older, perhaps stronger Blue Devil players underneath. It'll be Abdelnaby that he's chasing on the inside. They want to punch it in. Of course, a turnover. Here comes Burton again. It's 2-on-1. Lynch on the other side, and back-to-back layups for Burton.
Really like Burton. Slasher when he puts the ball on the floor, has a good range on his jump shot. This club that Clem Haskins has out there now has got enough size to match up with Duke in the man-to-man. Burton is playing Ferry. Pretty nice matchup. Quick enough to guard him.
Ferry turns around and nails it. Key for Danny Ferry, the Naismith winner this year, and perhaps the player of the year when all the voting comes out. We'll have to wait and see about that.
Henderson picking up, using that Duke slap to the floor, meaning let's get out here and play some defense. Martin, a legitimate 7-footer. Minnesota has been blessed with good big men over the years.
Over that time, it wasn't really no, can't blame him. It was not a good pass. That's 9 turnovers by the Gophers. They trail at 35-21. 4:10 in the first half. Looking for that burst that might get them back in. Very missing that time. One down by Minnesota.
Nice play. Didn't have a good shot. No rebounding numbers in behind him. Smart play by Newman.
Metcalf taking it to the left baseline, and Abdelnaby jumps in to double to get it in a Martin. Oh, nice, and he did it left-handed.
Excellent job. He was already in the air when he caught that ball, so he had to get a handle on it in a hurry.
Well, they're down 12 now. They were back by 16. Henderson. Make it 14, and that's a 3. It goes to 15. It is a 3.
And a chance for a one-on-one coming. Push on the inside. He's got an opportunity for a 5-pointer here. Ferry goes on a good backdoor cut, then rolls, and then rolls again. You talk about nice footwork on a player inside, and then Burton pushes him under the basket and gets called. And as tight as this game's being called, you'll never get away with one of those. Burton's second team all Big Ten this year. It shows you the quality of players they have in that league.
Ferry averaging better than 22 points a game. Has played in 2 Final Fours. Has increased his scoring every year.
Now they go back to the 1-2-2 zone with Martin and Coffey down on the backside.
Get word from the Metrodome that Purvis Ellison has apparently injured a knee in that showdown against Illinois. And the training staff for Louisville, we understand, is on the floor. We'll keep you updated, and we'll be right back. It's 38-23. On the right, but I want to tell you a story about Clement there on the left. She was a great All-American basketball player herself, and when Clem Haskins was traded, Danny Ferry's father, Bob Ferry, got him to the Washington Bullets. The two were just toddlers, so they'd go out in the driveway, and Clement used to work Danny over regularly, folks. She made him what he is today. You know, girls do mature a little earlier than boys do, and I mean, she beat up on him in the backyard.
Brett, being the chauvinist that I am, all right, I talked to Danny about that. He said it never happened.
You expected him to tell you the truth?
Well, he sure wouldn't admit it now. I wouldn't either if I were.
Clement said she'd take him one-on-one anytime, but she said, I can't do it anymore.
She was a great collegiate player. Played at Western Kentucky.
Duke digs out the rebound, punches in late there. We get word now from Minneapolis that Ellison's injury is not serious. He has left the game, but now Lowell Hamilton has been shaken up for Illinois, and he must sit down for a while. So a tough physical war unfolding there in the Midwest. It's the early going of the Illinois-Louisville game right now. The number 1 seed Illinois against number 4 Louisville. They had problems with the floor yesterday because of a wet spot. But in the Ellison situation, he simply collided with another player in that game and injured the leg.
Metcalf and Martin.
Back to Lynch. Lynch off to the side. Smith goes to track it down, and he's got it.
The lineup that Clem has on the floor right now, very inexperienced with this type of situation, and Duke taking advantage of it.
Time running down in the first half, and you folks who are with us in the Twin Cities and also down in the Carolinas, you'll get a chance to check in on that Louisville-Illinois game. Could be one of the shows of this tournament.
Danny Ferry trying to punch it inside. Nothing there. Mike Krzyzewski telling them, spread the court a little bit, make that zone work some. 6 straight NCAA tournament appearances for that young man. Outstanding coach. You know, when they talk about vacancies open, just about everybody says, well, they want to go after Mike Krzyzewski.
We had an opportunity to talk to him about that, too. And we get a chance in the second half. We'll update that coaching story regarding Kentucky and Coach K. Gaffney on the move with a nice jump shot, and the veteran puts it down.
27 threes this year for Gaffney, but that time he penetrated. Even leading three-point shooter on the club. They stay in the 1-2-2 zone. Leitner had Martin on his hip inside. They're still trying to punch it down in through that zone.
Berry, the three is there for Danny Berry. 11 points here in the first half. 14 for Bricky, 2 for Leitner, 10 by Henderson, 5 by Snyder.
Remember when they started man-to-man with Bond on him, he went down inside. Now he saw Martin on the backside of that zone, not quick enough to come out and stop him.
Henderson for the steal. That was run down by Coffey, and he gets it over to Gaffney. Final seconds of the first half, tipping away, and Leitner got a hand on it. Berry checking the clock, sees that he has time. Here's Henderson.
Off the dribble. Great pass. And the presence of mind to check that clock. Could go. Nice shot by Lynch.
So Lynch was the leader for the Gophers in the first half. He scores 7, but it is Duke 45, Minnesota 30. And our coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by the Good Time, Great Taste of McDonald's. Reebok basketball shoes. When the new legends are made, they'll be wearing Reeboks. And by Pontiac, we build excitement.
After this message and a word from your local station.
Of America, today's Chevrolet. The industrial tool division of Black & Decker. And by new Michelob Drive from Anheuser-Busch.
Well, it's a 15-point Duke lead over Minnesota here at the half. Their biggest lead in the first half was 18 points. And Mr. Packer, we know one very happy Duke Law School graduate. There he is, former President Richard Nixon, who has spent the entire half signing autographs.
Well, the last time he was in this building to see Duke play, they lost, and he did a very nice thing. He went down to the locker room, talked to Christian Leitner, who missed that front end of the free throw that could have put the game in tie. He said, young man, I've lost a few big ones myself from time to time, but that was the finest basketball game I've seen in 50 years. And he said, I remember the 6 you made, not the one you missed. I thought a classy gesture on his part.
Yes, it was. Billy, let's show everybody this great fast break that Duke has been able to unleash from time to time.
Well, this is a classic fast break situation. Henderson is going to go up and grab the rebound, as we're going to see right here. Henderson grabs the rebound. Now watch the Duke players fill the lane. They've got a perfect situation. Snyder, Henderson, Danny Ferry playing a lane way to the outside. Bricky taking his lane. Everybody stays in the lane. And look at the disadvantage it puts the defense on. Quick shuffle pass to Bricky, who flies in perfectly from the side.
Some of the numbers you might be interested in from the first half of this game. Notice how they compare with the regular season. Duke shooting the lights out. And look at those turnovers right now, forcing Minnesota to turn the ball over. So protecting the ball has been a problem for the Gophers. And Newbern gets in, and this is the first shot. And Leitner yanked it away from Shikanjansky. Quick pass down the floor to Henderson. Good block.
You know, Brent, Melvin Byrne has really put some real problems on Duke in a matchup situation. If Clem can figure out a way to get Newbern involved a little bit more offensively, he may be the guy that can get Burton on track.
Henderson on the cut.
No charge. Burton did a good job staying underneath. They called the touch foul before and didn't call the charge.
So Henderson and Bricky leading the way. 14 points apiece for the Blue Devils, and Ferry with 11.
There's Newbern again. I think he's got a chance to do something offensively.
Traveling. That's 12 turnovers by Minnesota here tonight.
Boy, it really hurts Clem not to have Richard Coffey at full speed. I mean, that would give him the other man up front. You can't make excuses at this point in the season, but, you know, when you lose a dominating rebounder like that, they lost 3 straight games when he went down.
I'm sure that the folks getting a taste of that other game at the half, Billy, are aware that Purvis Ellison returned, and he's playing for Louisville as Danny Ferry hits the field goal here. In that game, Kenny Battle did not start for Illinois because of an injury suffered in practice yesterday. He has checked in, and he's been playing. It has been a lot of pressure defense by the Fighting Illini in that game, and their overall team quickness that has carved out that lead that you saw. In that particular region, they will play the winner of the second game there, and that second game will match Syracuse, the 2 seed, against Missouri.
Straight man-to-man by Duke, trying to take the wind out of Minnesota's sails right at the start here of the second half.
Foul was called, and our referee tonight, John Fogarty of Raleigh, North Carolina, Danny Crispin of Wheaton, Illinois, and Tom O'Neill of Tinley Park, Illinois, working along with him.
This first person.
Straight man-to-man out of bounds situation. Burton gets the good screen. Leitner's doing a good job off the boards, and as Mike Krzyzewski pointed out yesterday, his hands are as good as any big man he's had. Maybe a walk.
Well, it was. And so it will go over to Minnesota. 7 turnovers by Duke, and we remind you what's coming up next. North Carolina State, 5 seed in the East against the top seed, the Hoyas of Georgetown. But Georgetown's been a little shaky, haven't they? They beat Princeton by a point, then got past Notre Dame, had to shoot the lights out to get it done. Here it's Minnesota trying to come back. Burton squeezes the trigger and nails it. His first bucket of the second half, 10 for the game.
Straight man-to-man by Minnesota, and that's that tough matchup for him with Bond.
That's Leitner up over, was reaching over the top. And they got that time. That's his second personal foul. Back-to-back fouls here by the freshman center.
Ken Brennan, it's so difficult to be patient when you figure you can put a team away, but with that big advantage they have on the boards, Duke is really at a disadvantage when they put the ball up quickly.
Leitner reaching that time, knocked it free, forced the turnover. Ferry off balance, got it down to 4. Here's an easy one.
Ricky leads the team in dunks. And what's interesting, Danny Ferry is up there in every category, even drawing. He's the leading guy in drawing charges on the team, but he's 6th on the team in dunks with only 9.
There's an offensive rebound by Bond, blocked by Leitner, and there, underneath, the whistle is blown, and a foul is going to be called against Minnesota. And Haskins upset about that call.
Well, I'd be upset if I were Bond. I mean, he might have committed the early foul, and he got thrown to the floor.
Wasn't this a held ball before a foul, Billy? Didn't they tie this ball up?
No, it was a good block because the ball was released out of his hands. Now, that would have been, that would have been a jump ball. So now look at poor Bond. He goes down. I'd been real upset if I were Bond. He got a good rebound, got his shot blocked, then got tied up and gets charged with a foul.
So they charged that to Burton.
Oh, Burton.
And that's his 4th foul, Billy. So let me get that straight. Now Shikanjansky, and that's time they do call the held ball.
Leitner really showing something. An outstanding freshman ball player who made the All-ACC freshman team, is going to be an outstanding player at Duke University. He's got quite a temperament.
That's a big scene with Burton over there on the sideline with 4 personals, and on the turnover, now it goes over, and it is really going to be uphill for Haskins and Minnesota in this one.
And Coffey back on the floor, but knowing that he can only play maybe 5 minutes at the best.
Newbern. This is Coffey. Heavy knee brace. Lynch.
Coffey really battles in there. Hasn't practiced, so you know he has no stamina.
Lynch again missed the 3. And it is Bond for the layup. Offensive foul called against Bond, his first.
Well, we talked about Clem's family. This is his son, Brent, and he got that name when his dad was playing down there for Baltimore, for the Bullets. And you know who he's named himself after?
Who's that?
The guy that used to announce in the NBA during that period of time, Brent Musburger. How about that one?
I've known Clem since the Chicago Bulls days. That's where that's where we met. He was the 3rd player drafted one year, Billy. It was the year of the guard in the NBA. Foul called underneath, and it goes against Duke. And that's Davis's first personal foul in this game. Do you know Clem Haskins was the 3rd player drafted that year? And you give me the names of the 2 guards drafted ahead of him. I'll give you a hint. One of them should be a Hall of Famer. And one of them who was drafted after him is a Hall of Famer. It was the year of the guard now.
Answer the question.
All right. Earl Monroe, as Metcalf, we saw him checked in. Earl Monroe was drafted right ahead of Haskins, okay, by Baltimore. Jimmy Walker went to Detroit. Remember him out about that?
Province, yeah.
Minnesota getting a layup underneath, and there's Coffey doing some of the dirty work in this game. Right after Haskins, Walt Frazier was drafted by the New York Knicks.
Tell me the next time you're going to see the NBA, the first four guys drafted under 6'4". Well, I guess under 6'4", that bunch. 6'4" or below.
Danny Ferry's second personal. It is 51-34. Duke leading Minnesota. 16 minutes to go here in regulation.
But Clem played with, what, 3 or 4 teams in the NBA?
Played with 3.
Bulls, Phoenix,
and Washington. Yeah. And that's when he was acquired by Danny Ferry's father, Bob Ferry. And that's, of course, when the connection was made with the youngsters. That's the first foul on Snyder. Clem Haskins was a great shooting guard. Another story about Clem that I was unaware of until tonight. He was the first black athlete at Western Kentucky. He helped lead integration, and his brother was the second black player at the University of Kentucky. Clem never had an opportunity to play at Kentucky because it was all white in those days. Smith coming away now with a rebound, and here is Ferry.
Not the shot that Clem wants there for his club to try to get back in this one.
2-shot foul call this time, and that is Coffey's third. Foul problems mounting for Minnesota.
Well, Mike Krzyzewski just reloads Brian Davis in the ball game right now. Is almost cut out of the same cloth as Bricky. Takes it right onto the inside. New Byrne goes out. Kind of a tough situation for Minnesota here.
But this should do nothing to tarnish what Haskins and the Gophers have accomplished in the Twin Cities over the last couple of years. You're aware of the much publicized problems of that team.
You know, Clem was funny yesterday talking about winning just games on the road till that Ohio State game. He said, you know, we played Indiana to 4, Illinois to 5, Michigan to 4 on the road. Those are wins as far as I'm concerned in the Big Ten. He might have a point there. Not many clubs would go in and play on that tight.
He turns around the hook shot. And this time Minnesota tried to dig it out. Wound up in Abdelnaby's hands for the jumper, and he got it right back.
Olive from very close by here in Bloomfield. He's wanting to get something on the board. Mike Krzyzewski trying to calm him down a little bit.
Here's what the Duke seniors have accomplished.
8-0 in the first and second round. That's pretty strong.
And 2 of those 3 losses for Quinn Snyder came in NCAA Final Four action. One in the championship game. They were beaten by Louisville. Quinn Snyder battles migraine headaches. Those of you down in the Raleigh-Durham area are certainly aware of the story, although that doesn't look like how you might treat a migraine. That looks a little bit more like how you might treat a little blow to the head, unless they got a brand new treatment that they should ship out to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He too, throughout much of his illustrious career, had to battle that terrible affliction. Have you ever had a migraine, Billy?
Well, I've had headaches. I don't know if it's as severe as a migraine. I know Coach Krzyzewski's wife also suffers from migraines at times. He said maybe it's being around both of them around him too much.
Lynch off the dribble.
He's a good-looking young player.
10 points. Spoke of this being a young team. Lynch is a sophomore, Newburn a junior, Burton a junior, Shikanjansky a junior. That's 4 fouls on Coffey.
You know, Brent, you were talking about the NBA tradition of Clem Haskins with this Minnesota club, and I was thinking, going back and reviewing Minnesota's history, I'm going to make a statement here I'm sure people will jump at. I think that Minnesota has the finest group of NBA players of any Big Ten school, and I tried to put together an all-team. Michael Thompson, Kevin McHale, Lou Hudson in the front court.
Good.
Ray Williams, Trent Tucker for the guards.
All right.
Not a bad thing. I don't think any other team in the Big Ten could match that lineup as far as their NBA career.
I'm calling Walt Bellamy and Isaiah Thomas, and I want 3 other guys from Indiana who want to play.
Well, could be, but you know, Indiana during that period of time, and I still think Minnesota is the best, but Indiana during that time won some national crowns. Minnesota has not. They really, and they go deep. About 12 guys have had outstanding NBA careers in recent history.
So we'll take a break and come back with 14:56 to go. Duke leading it 55-36.
A regional finals doubleheader tomorrow on CBS Sports.
Well, that's our situation here at the East Regional. Now in the Midwest going on in the Metrodome, folks are watching live here, and this is what they're seeing. Illinois leading Louisville 36-29, just inside of 2 minutes there in the first half. So when this one is concluded, those of you in the Twin Cities and down in the Carolinas will check in on that action. That figures to be a damage. Lynch coming up, and Duke runs down the missed shot. Snyder, great pass over here to Henderson with a left hand.
Great hit ahead by Quinn Snyder. Minnesota not doing a bad job getting back against that break either. Just superior quickness by Henderson.
Henderson with 16 leading the way. Ferry with 1 hoop this half, and that was some time ago. He has 13 for the game. Average is 22 a season, and coming back is Gaffney with his first basket in the second half.
That's a good pull-up by Gaffney on that particular play because it got some help by Smith coming from the side, and he was able to pull up instead of drawing the charge.
Henderson 6 of 7 from the field as he punches one to Ferry, and the foul is called against Minnesota's Metcalf. He's another one of the youngsters, a junior from Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. So we'll get started with our regional final coverage tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern time, and then we will bring you, after the pregame show, 2 finals. In the Southeast will be Virginia against Michigan, and then UNLV against Seton Hall. Who do you like in that Seton Hall UNLV game, Billy?
Well, you've got the experienced players of Seton Hall. Both teams had to expend themselves a great deal, Brennan, in that last game. And I think it'll come down to how well UNLV shoots from the perimeter. They have had real problems shooting the basketball. When they shoot well, they're pretty tough to beat because their inside rebounding is good and their defense is solid. But based on consistency, we might go with Seton Hall.
Well, that's given both of them a chance. Henderson punched it in, knocked away and out of bounds.
An interesting thing that Seton Hall did there for the Big East, that means that every team in the Big East has gotten to a regional final with the exception of Connecticut and Pittsburgh. Pretty strong for a league to be able to say that about their depth.
Henderson, 51 seconds left in the first half.
Nice.
Rammed in by Bricky. 18 points for Bricky tonight for Coach K.
Everybody on that floor has had a double-figure type ball game. Been showing a lot of good moves here.
Metcalf was fouled. And it goes against Ferry. That's his third personal. Billy, they put you in Coach K's position right now. It's 60-38, dominating. Is this the kind of game you want to get ready for possibly Georgetown or another battle with Jimmy Valvano and North Carolina State?
Well, if you had an inexperienced club, and in this particular case they don't because Snyder and Ferry have been here before, it probably doesn't make the difference. This would not be the kind of game you wanted if you had a real young team that would get a little sloppy at this point in the game. But I think that Mike will have to go a little deeper on his bench. He's got Ferry down now. Let some other fellas play. Might as well keep them rested.
Now Burton returning for Minnesota. Robert Bricky, his season high is 19, and he has netted 18. The junior from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Clem likes to use Metcalf. He's trying to shore up his perimeter game, but so far Metcalf has been called upon to play a lot of tough defense down inside, where he doesn't have the sides to go up with the Leitners and Abdelnabis and Ferries.
Run down by Burton off the missed free throw.
I really like the way Newbern handles him.
There's Burton, and he has 12 for the game. Sorry, watching because
because of the foul problems right now. Illinois will take a 3-point lead into the locker room at intermission. That is 40-37 at the half over there, Illinois. They led it all the way.
Brent, these two leagues, the ACC and the Big Ten, went into this year's NCAA tournament both winning 63.9% of the games in NCAA tournament all time. It's an incredible. They could be right on the money and be so successful. Spreading it out. Down to 10 seconds, and you see they're going to give Henderson a one-on-one opportunity.
Got it.
Most teams go to that situation, and if they can get the ball in the hands of the kind of a guy who can take it one-on-one, it's successful. We saw Pookie Wigginton last night for Seton Hall not do it too well.
15 on the 3.
Burton's got great range on that jumper, and that's what he did so effectively in the first two games against Stanford and Siena.
Well, does Minnesota have enough quickness here to pick up full court against Duke? They're going to need some pressure.
Not really. And if you spread Duke out as well as they pass that ball and their big men run, they're going to get some easy layups on them, particularly Bricky. Nice defense.
Off to the hands of Burton. It's 3-on-1. He'll take it all the way. Missed. Banged in by Metcalf on a nice follow. His first field goal of the game.
Now, Clem Haskins is motioning to his team to try to pick up a little higher. They get the run, and I didn't realize he was over on the sidelines. I was going to say, if they get the run with this kind of pressure, you know who's coming in the game, Danny Ferry.
And a push-off offensive foul call against Duke, with North Carolina State, also of the ACC, starting to arrive here at the Meadowlands. And
there's a guy in the action. Brent, a guy in the middle there without uniform on. One of the great plays in the history of the NCAA tournament. Derek Wittenberg came up short, was out of his range. I always kid him about that in airports. Only shot he ever took that was out of his range. Perfect pass to Lorenzo Charles for the layup that beat Houston.
That was back in 1983. Jimmy B has taken a couple of teams on into the regional since then, but he has never gotten back to the Final Four. And this year he has an opportunity. He'll play Georgetown, take on John Thompson in our next game. Minnesota shot only 4 free throws tonight.
Martin's high this year was 9 points. You see, he has a nice frame at the 7 foot, maybe 7'1" even. Fun will be working with this young man in the offseason. Nice looking touch. Here comes that press. 1-2-1-1 with Martin all the way back. It's tough to press Duke, but a guy like Ferry can come up and handle the ball and make the pass.
Duke with an offensive rebound and a foul called on the putback. That's the first on Martin. And Duke will be shooting free throws. Looking at that scoring again. 18 for Henderson, 18 for Bricky. They are leading the way. Ferry has chipped in 14.
You know, Brent, Martin not as big as Randy Brewer. Well, of course, is now having a good pro career, but he actually, I think at this stage in his career, a little bit more mobile, a little bit more versatile. About the only weakness in Bricky's game has been from the free throw line. Shoots under 56%. Martin goes right back, commits another free throw. Leitner getting it.
Minnesota foul shots for Bob Martin. His second.
All right, James Brown, thank you. Along with Billy Packer, we're here at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This is game 1 of our doubleheader. Still to come, Georgetown and North Carolina State. This is the second meeting of this tournament, and you can see that Duke of the ACC is dominating Minnesota of the Big Ten. Last night it was the Big Ten's turn as Michigan put out North Carolina in the Southeast region. Now this particular region, the East, is linked up to play the West winner. So whoever survives tomorrow's battle in Denver between UNLV, who'll be taking on Seton Hall of the Big East, then they will play the winner of our East region in a national semifinal game in Seattle a week from tomorrow. Billy, I'm sure that the fans would like to hear exactly how this game is unfolding.
Well, I think it's a situation very simple. Brent, Duke is just a more talented team than is Minnesota. They're much bigger, tough matchup for Clem Haskins, and without having Richard Coffey, his primary rebounder, out there because of the physical problem with his knee, it has been Duke all the way.
Well, let me point out that field goal shooting, Billy, Duke has shot 61% to only 44 from Minnesota. And rebounding, Minnesota has held its own, but they just haven't been able to get any shooting going against this tough Blue Devil defense.
Well, the reason the stats show that they've held their own is because Duke's almost shooting 70%. They're not getting the offensive rebounds, so everything they put up there has been going in for them.
5 points and 6 assists for the senior point guard for Duke. Those of you in the New York area know how successful Duke has been through the years at the Meadowlands. They are 7-1 with only a loss earlier this year against Arizona.
Nice overplay by Quinn Snyder on Newbern on the far side. Newbern's been able to take him one-on-one when he gets a chance.
Fellow with the mask is Willie Burton. He's the scoring leader for the Gophers, and he bangs in now a 3 to give him 18. He broke a nose in Minnesota's last game, and he has been forced to play with that mask throughout the NCAA tournament. This is Danny Ferry. He has been relatively quiet tonight, looking for action and drawing the foul against Minnesota. That's a second on Metcalf. I say relatively, at least for him, he scored only 14.
But there was a case where Burton had committed to come over to help double team with Metcalf on Ferry. He just need to play him solid and not give Ferry that little space to drive inside.
Oh, we were glad to notice in that Illinois game against Louisville that Purvis Ellison's leg injury was not serious and that Kenny Battle was able to play. You want to see those two teams loaded with thoroughbreds go right down to the last few minutes, don't you, Billy?
Exactly. And it was not the same knee that Purvis had hurt earlier in the year. Looked to me, looking on the monitor, that he just got smacked knee on knee. There's Bricky again.
Oh, Bricky's had a great night for Mike Krzyzewski. 20 points. He's the team leader. It is 66-50 right now. Duke, the #2 seed of the East. And if they hold on to this lead, from all appearances they will, that foul against Snyder, they would then play the winner of the top seed, Georgetown, against #5 North Carolina State on Sunday afternoon for the right to advance to Seattle. This senior class, and Snyder's one of the members, already has appeared in 2 Final Fours. They went down to Dallas, an unbeaten team, and were knocked off by Louisville. You folks down in Louisville will not forget that national championship. You kind of miss that leadership of Milt Wagner and that backcourt, don't you?
You know, and Brent, this gymnasium's been a great place for this Duke team. They're 7-1. This would more than likely, with 9 minutes and 45 seconds to go, make them 8-1 in this gym. They've won, what, a regional here? 2 regionals here.
They beat David Robinson and Navy. In fact, they have not gotten to a Final Four without coming through the Meadowlands. It is 67-52. Duke continues to dominate Minnesota. Well, there at the scoring table are 3 members of the NCAA committee, headed by Seth Dempsey. He has his hand up to the side of his face. Now his left. See, he's resting right there. He's the athletic director down at Arizona. He's very disappointed what happened with Wildcats. Tom Butters, who did a great job at Duke, is their athletic director, and Jim Delaney. He's the commissioner of the Ohio Valley, and from all indications, he may be headed in to the Big Ten. That's what everybody is saying, and if so, he'd do a great job down there. They sure did a good job of seeding these teams. 13 of the 16 teams survived on into the regions.
Shows you why it's so tough to press Duke University when Ferry gets his matchup and brings it up and makes the pass.
Short on the shot, yanked away by Bricky. Offensive foul against Bricky, and Coach K says, why, where? Show it to me.
You know, the way Bricky, there's NC State coming up. Chris Corciani signing some autographs. Brett, the way Bricky gets up, how about Bricky, Battle, and Stevie Thompson in a dunking contest? Huh?
Be a good one.
That'd be 3 fellas that can explode off the floor.
They really can, those 3. And that's Next, you'll see Corciani. North Carolina State had a great double overtime triumph over Iowa last Sunday. I guess that's the standout game of the tournament, really, so far when you think about it. Lynch on a pass. He's played well here for Minnesota. Burton takes the 3 out on top. Nice pass.
Good pass. Oh, and Bond got hurt his ankle coming down. Might have step on somebody. Running it off.
Anderson. Down underneath. And another jump ball, and this time it'll go over.
Well, Brent, Minnesota now having a chance with a 3 if they can get it. They get down at 10 mark. You know, this game has kind of rocked along at 15 for a while. Here's the first chance they had to get a run.
Bond will sit down, and Coffey is back along with Shikanjansky. Lynch, Burton, and Lewis on the floor for the Gophers. This is their chance at the 8:30 mark if they're going to climb back in it.
I'd let Burton get a chance for a shot here. Not a good one.
Misfired on everything.
He was too late.
Snyder trips. Minnesota's got it. Lewis can't do anything with it momentarily, and now it's Coffey. Get it back to Coffey, coming in with the left hand, and the foul will go against Minnesota. Haskins can't believe this one.
He's doing a prance on the sideline.
I'd be prancing too. That is the 5th personal on Coffey.
You see the good dish in there. Lynch gives it back. Now Coffey with a good wheel would have been able to lay that up, but he just has not been able to practice. He doesn't have his game legs at all. Made it tough on him, and I think Clem Haskins has a good time to complain right there. Bond coming back in on that gimpy ankle, and Richard Coffey has to go back out. Gallon Everett on that young man's part.
Abdelnaby replaces later. Back to Ferry. Well, there have been 19 fouls called against Minnesota in the game and 13 against Duke.
Well, when you're making a run, as Minnesota was, you don't want that kind of call to hurt you.
Another held ball. And this time the possession arrow in favor of Duke.
Remember the question that you raised about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes ago when you said, is this the kind of game that you want your team to play? You could see that it's disintegrated on Duke's part. When they had the lead and a win, they have really not concentrated in their half-court offense. Gotten very sloppy.
Smith with it, 2.
Smith, interesting this year, is at 24 3-point shots, had only ever made 1 before that in his entire career. Become their best 3-point shooter other than Danny Ferry.
Burton misses on the 3. Duke will bring it down.
Mike Krzyzewski's making them run the offense now instead of just coming down, putting up the shots.
Trying to take some time off the clock, coming down to the 7-minute mark.
They want Minnesota to make some mistakes on defense. Bond very aggressive on Smith.
Ferry. And a foul against Minnesota. A chance for the 3-point play.
We're going to see some more of that type of offensive deployment in the second game. You can expect NC State to keep it out there on the perimeter some. Excellent pass. Danny Ferry with a slight push on Burton. Shikanjansky comes over, not quite in time. Oh, interesting, Brent. Duke with Danny Ferry this year going over the 2,000-point mark. Have 6 fellas in the history of their school that have scored more than 2,000 points. That's the most of any school in the NCAA.
6:40 to go.
Good backdoor cut, missed Bond.
Lynch fires a 3. Snyder controls. Up the floor to Ferry.
Minnesota had a chance to get it down to 10, but you see what Mike Krzyzewski now wants. He wants to spread them out.
Loose. Minnesota's ball. Lynch is open. So with 6 minutes, Clint Haskins will use a timeout. He's trailing 72-56. And if the Gophers are to make a run, the time has come. They're in the same half of the draw as the Midwest region. Illinois and Louisville just getting underway in the second half. In this half of the draw, Georgetown, North Carolina State next. They'll play the winner of the Duke-Minnesota game. Out west, UNLV, Seton Hall tomorrow. So it'll be the 3 seed against Vegas, the 4 seed. Here it is, Duke, in a game that has Minnesota scratching and clawing and trying to get back in. They'll be forced to commit fouls here soon. Inside of the 6-minute mark, 72-56.
Trying the 1-3-1 trap right now. They try to go 3-quarter court and then back into half court.
There's the personal against the Gophers. That's against Lewis. You know, Minnesota hit 52% in winning their first 2 games in this tournament. And tonight, they're shooting only 43%.
And it's been about that way the entire game, Brent. They never really have gotten in stride. Duke getting a good, solid lead early and just hanging right on to it.
That was Gaffney who replaced Lewis.
You mentioned about Duke getting to the Final Four under Mike Krzyzewski, coming through the Meadowlands twice. Because they've had 3 different coaches take them to the Final Four, with Vic Bubas back in the 60s with the great teams that he had. And then Bill Foster took them to the Final Four back in, what, 78? Bubas's trip with the Heyman and Mullins teams faced Johnny Wooden's club in 64 when Wooden had the great pressing club and blew him out in the final game.
Well, Minnesota can start looking for some threes. This time they punch into Burton, and he'll come in with a hook shot. 20 points for Willie Burton, their scoring leader. 73-58. Just inside of 5.5 minutes here in the Meadowlands. The winner will move along to the East Region Final. They ship it to Abel-Nabi, and on the turnover, the Gophers now can back up field goals, looking for that late run. Anything to build on against Coach K right now.
Fred Burton, as I mentioned, 29 against Kansas State, 19 against Siena. He's having a very good NCAA tournament.
Minnesota only 3 of 9 from three-point land. So Burton says, let's stick with the 2s right now. And another held ball is called, and Minnesota retains possession.
Snyder either twisted his ankle. Who's ball?
Short pass to Bonds, and the foul is against Abdel-Nabi. That's his first of the game. Let's see how Snyder gets hit here and injures his ankle or his leg.
He just twisted that ankle down on the inside as Burton got it called with a held ball.
Abdel-Nabi leaves. Ricky checks in. Leitner in. Abdel-Nabi a little displeased over there on the sideline.
So was Mike Krzyzewski when he wasn't ready for that inbounds play defensively.
Jansky watching for the Minnesota bench.
Young man was picked the most improved player on the Gopher team for the '89 season.
Down to 13, 73-60. Inside of 5 minutes remaining in the game. And with that speed, they get to the glass right away. And Leitner on the follow-up. It's going to be tough defensively for Minnesota. Here is Gaffney. Should have chance too. He was not outside the line. He should have just taken a quick look, and he could have backed it up just a fraction. Into Ferry's hands, losing, gets it back. And a wise decision, showing you that senior leadership and what he's learned. Not going for the easy shot, but back it back out, get some time off the clock. And he did a terrific job of controlling that ball. And they're going to have to put somebody on the line. They go to Leitner, and offensive foul is the signal underneath.
See Danny Ferry bouncing up in the air. Never did have control. Comes down to the jump stop, and therefore was not walking.
Leitner picks up his 4th personal on the charge call. Inside of 4-10, 75-62. They're sticking with that penetration into the middle, and here sooner or later they're going to have to put up the threes. They've turned it over 16 times in this game.
And Brent, one of the things that they can get off of that penetration when Newbern takes it down in there is penetrate and then hit back out. Because Duke is not doing a good job with the ball on there, and Mike Krzyzewski really upset with his club.
He may take him out to the floor here where he can lather him a little bit. And a K-man is disturbed. With Billy Packer. Billy Duke certainly headed for an 80 pace in this game.
And when they do, 24-0. More than likely they'll hit 80. That I think was a very good call by Mike Krzyzewski to take the timeout. His team had lost concentration, and they really lost it around the 10-minute mark. Getting very sloppy out there, and he stayed with his veteran club. He's got that original starting lineup on the floor.
Well, as soon as this one ends, you folks in Minneapolis and down in the Carolinas will be checking in on the Midwest region of Minneapolis. Great drive by Burton, who pushed down another 2. He has scored 22 for Coach Haskins. Illinois and Louisville staying close, 2 to a 4-point margin in that game. So some wild action still to come there. And Louisville just moments ago cut that lead to 2. It is now 48-46 in the Metrodome.
Well, when Bond goes for the double team, he'll put the hammer on you. The other side guy on the foul line.
His second.
Said Bricky is 55% free throw shooter, so if you're Minnesota, he's the man you want on that foul line.
1 plus 1.
2 for 5 from the line, now 3 for 6. 20 points, 9 rebounds for the night.
Leitner battling to keep it alive. He was fouled underneath.
Well, how many times have we seen that tonight when Duke has been able to get an offensive rebound off the missed free throw? Clem Haskins telling his players over on the sideline to block out a little better, but they have not been able to handle that size inside.
Well, tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, CBS Sports Saturday presents the World Figure Skating Championship. You will see the pairs final and the men's short program. Christian Leitner up at the free throw line, 76-64. Duke leading Minnesota, 3:19 to go. Duke's biggest lead in the game was 22.
Leitner had a stretch this year where he had made 14 straight from the field. He comes in second place in his old team because Abdelnaby had 20 straight. Not the NCAA record, but got close to it. Duke picking up a little bit higher right now, trying to get their legs moving again.
And he's got the 3 on the way this time.
Off balance.
Offensive rebound for Burton. 24 points for the Gophers' leading score. 78-66 now, 3 minutes to go. This Minnesota team, give them some credit for not quitting here. Kachansky out on Leitner, trying to force the turnover. Bricky over to Snyder, and Duke running some seconds off the clock before Lynch puts Snyder up on the free throw line at the 2:40 mark.
For that last pass that went on the inside to Bricky, Snyder had a perfect opportunity to pull one of those Princeton backdoor cuts, but he held his ground, and that allowed Lynch to just stay right with him.
Well, you mentioned Princeton and that scintillating 1-point loss, 50-49 to Georgetown. The Hoyas will be next. They'll take on North Carolina State here in the East region, the other semifinal. Clem Haskins has had a great performance out of Burton tonight with 24 points. He's led the way. Lynch has chipped in with 14. For Duke, Ferry with 18. He's below his average, but Bricky with 21 and Henderson with 19.
Another one.
And Ferry going to work this time.
Jansky did a great job blocking out, but he blocked out his own people. There's the backdoor cut.
But the foul came against Minnesota before the play.
On the previous foul, Jansky realized what Clem Haskins wanted him to do, and he blocked out everybody all the way across the lane. Allowed Danny Ferry just to get the easy scoop.
Well, a year ago, Duke advanced to the East Regional Final, where they knocked off Temple. And in their other regional final here in the Meadowlands, it was against Navy and David Robinson. And for the young Minnesota players, a tremendous experience of getting into this NCAA tournament. Some terrific wins back in the Twin Cities. The folks there at that school enthusiastic again about basketball. You know, Minnesota is not a basketball-rich school. If they could win this one tonight, I think it's only the 5th year in their history that they would have won 20 games. Burton. And getting it back, Minnesota can't put it down. Leitner coming out. And the foul is called against Minnesota. Leitner will come up and shoot the 1-on-1 with Louisville and Illinois. Knotted up again in 12.5 minutes to go in that Donnybrook.
Seems like Leitner has had 20 rebounds tonight. His hands have been up around the boards all the time. Now, I know it's nothing even approaching that, but he sure has had his hands on a lot of balls inside.
Christian Leitner.
Angola, New York. Freshman that's sure to be one of the nation's top players before he leaves Durham. Another offensive rebound. Every time Minnesota makes a little run in this game, Brent, it just seems like Duke just turns it back up to that 15-point mark. It's been there the whole game.
Burton. And they give it to him. 26 points. Duke wisely not drawing the foul in that situation. Inside of 2 minutes now. Duke will start to kill the clock. Gaffney fouling Henderson, and they'll shoot 1-on-1 again at the 1:49 mark. Minnesota has shot 10 free throws tonight and made only 7. Duke has gotten to the line 35 times in this game and made 21. So Duke has outscored Minnesota at the line 21-7. Minnesota battling uphill, has been forced to foul a lot here in the second half, and Henderson can increase that margin right now.
This is not a great free throw shooting team. They're only shooting 67% as a team. But you can see some of those faces that always show up in NCAA tournament time as games end. Only one team's going to go away happy when this whole thing's over. On a sad moment.
Lynch.
He has a funny rotation on that jumper.
Down to a minute and a half. Ferry wants it back outside. They get it into Snyder's hands. Gaffney fouling Snyder. His third personal.
To go back to what we said early on, these referees have called the game very tight in regard to touch fouling. So at this time in the game, very difficult to come up with the steal.
And again, you fans, when this one's over, you'll check in on that one brewing between Illinois and Louisville.
Gaffney, Lynch have to sit down over there with Bond, Coffey, who never got an opportunity to play very much tonight in the Gallion Everett.
Lewis dribbling it down for Minnesota. Deflected out of bounds.
Played Buckley in the game. Brent, his dad played on one of those Vic Bubas clubs. So 2 of them, I guess, that went to the Final Four. Snyder going out, solid game. We'll have to get the story on that ice pack.
3. Short. Into the hands of Duke. Henderson. Lead to Davis. He was fouled. He'll be shooting.
Got Tommy Emiker talking to Quinn Snyder on that sideline there. Of course, Emiker, great point guard leader with the Johnny Dawkins era.
Big round of applause for Danny Ferry. Richard Nixon, just one of many Duke graduates in the New York area. This is their largest alumni group.
Then he
runs
said,
New York, Washington, and then down in the Durham area.
President Nixon said that in the 3 years he was at the Duke Law School, he never saw a basketball game. I guess he was studying art, huh?
He didn't want to go out and live in one of those tents and then run into Cameron like everybody else.
That was back in the 30s. I wonder where they played in that time.
Davis, that's right.
Maybe they played outdoors in the 30s. I don't know. Cameron Stadium has been around for a while. I don't know if it was built in the 30s.
Burton misses, and Metcalf comes back. And 1 minute to go here in this one. And then we'll ship you to the end of that one with Illinois. A team with so many talented, quick athletes.
Hard to throw the ball over the head of a 7-footer, but that took place there. Virgin couldn't get to it.
Lewis. Lewis again.
Well, we've got three fellas bordering on 7 feet playing down in the lane. Lewis, the smallest guy in the court, gets the rebound and scores.
Billy, in that Illinois game, Marcus Liberty, the sophomore who could not play last year, has come off to give Lou Henson a lift. He had struggled in their first 2 games. It's now 62-55 Illinois. You'll be seeing the end of it as this one winds down and Duke heads to the East Regional Final against either Georgetown or North Carolina State. You'll come back and see that one. And that'll be an ending as Crawford Palmer, the freshman from Arlington, Virginia, puts in a field goal. Lewis missing the 3. Palmer out. Here's Davis. And a foul against Minnesota with 8 seconds to go. He'll step up to the line. 87-70 is our score.
It's going to border on the biggest margin, I believe, if he hits these 2 free throws. If they had it to 19 one time in the first half.
Brian Davis will shoot 2.
Kevin Lynch played a fine game here tonight, particularly early on, both defensively and offensively. He's going to be a fine player for Clemson.
You get this far, and if you're untested in the tournament competition like Minnesota was, it's a little bit different. And this was a great experience for Minnesota. They should build on this next season.
Another offensive rebound on a missed free throw.
So the Blue Devils go back to the East Region Final. They beat Minnesota 87-70. And next for Mike Krzyzewski and the Blue Devils will be the winner of the Georgetown contest against North Carolina State. Now let's ship you back to Jim Nance and James Brown.
Brent, thank you. So Duke joins